Good Friday afternoon. Jerry Miller, welcome to the I Love CVille show. It's good to be with you. We're live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille network. A lot of news in today's broadcast. Headlines, and more of them as we head into the weekend. A big meeting on Monday for Albemarle County, its Board of Supervisors. So this is somewhat new. When we left the meeting this past week, we thought the next time they would reconvene was August 5th. It's now going to be on Monday. We have that story for you on the I Love CVille show. We have Nelson County Schools, the first school system in Central Virginia to make a decision for their plans for the fall. We'll let you know what the Nelson County school system is going to do, and I expect it to influence the school systems around it. That story coming up for you. No masks at Liberty University. You heard that correctly. The Falwells, we know them well and where they stand politically. When school starts again at Liberty University in Lynchburg, students not having to wear masks. Mortgage rates at a 30-year low. You can get a mortgage on a 30-year fix below 3%. It's nuts. We'll have ACC football on the brain. The Atlantic Coast Conference expected to make a decision for football on Wednesday. We'll let you know about Notre Dame. We'll let you know about the economic impact football has. Barry Alvarez, he's the athletic director at Wisconsin University in Madison, Wisconsin. He was formerly the football coach there. He said, if we do not have football at Wisconsin, it will set the department back $100 million. And ladies and gentlemen, a Pac-12 is planning a 10-game conference schedule. My name is Jerry Miller. It's the I Love CVille show. We are powered by many, many clients. Two of our favorites, Interstate Pest and Service Companies and Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Interstate, a home's best friend. 4 generations of family behind Interstate Pest and Service Companies. And Scott Wagner, I'm telling you guys, physical therapy, chiropractic care, sports medicine. Dr. Wagner has your back at Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Do me a favor and hit the like button now. Share the show. If you could do that now, that would mean the world to us. Judah Wickhauer, first headline. I think we're ready to rock and roll as we head over here. Comes from Albemarle County. They're going to meet on Monday, the Board of Supervisors. We had a meeting this past week. Now we know that there's a meeting on Monday about Phase 2, Phase 2.5, Phase 3. Only 6 people truly know, and maybe some county executives. That's one of the frustrating aspects of local government, especially how Albemarle County is running it today. The transparency, the communication, the sense of approachability, I'm just not seeing. So Albemarle County is going to make a decision between now and August 5th of what's going to happen with a county that has a lot of people working, a lot of people eating, a lot of people drinking, a lot of people doing weddings. I heard from, actually this morning, this is a great stat for you, okay? Listen to this statistic I'm about to give you. A former employee in Albemarle County, big-time employee, had this metric to pass along. Jerry, every wedding that is done at one of the venues in Albemarle County, if you have a wedding and you're doing it in Albemarle County at a vineyard, at a winery, at a brewery, every wedding generates $100,000 in revenue for Albemarle County. It's worth repeating. This is from a person who did this professionally for a living. Okay? Literally, this is this person's job to understand economic metrics and statistics like this. Literally learned this morning here at our I Love CVille studio. Every wedding done in Albemarle County generates $100,000 in taxable revenue for this municipality. That is a tremendous amount. Extrapolate $100,000 over however many weddings happen at the vineyards, wineries, and breweries in Albemarle. You have hundreds, if not thousands, of weddings. And if someone from the winery, if someone from the wedding, Barbara, if you're watching, Andre Xavier, if you're watching, if you can offer this perspective, Al and Cindy Schorenberg at Keswick, if you guys can put in the feed how many weddings roughly a year happen in Albemarle County, I learned from you guys. So if you guys can give me some insight into how many weddings happen a year, I now can give you a metric of $100,000 in taxable revenue per wedding in the county. So I need to emphasize to everybody that's watching the program, I need to emphasize this. Maintaining the ecosystem or maintaining the economy around weddings and venues is critically important for the future of Albemarle County, in particular its 2021 budget and also its 2022 budget. Should we, in any capacity, limit this, it's going to have ramifications negative for schools, EMTs, police, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think instead of creating an ambassador program, and we covered that yesterday, 6 people on the Board of Supervisors are about to allocate $123,000 in your money, in taxpayer money, $123,000 to create an ambassador program. And this ambassador program is basically paying people to be snitches. And from where I'm from, snitches get stitches. Okay? $123,000 in an economy that is struggling in Albemarle is being allocated to tattletales and snitches who get stitches from where I'm from. Okay? Not only is the snitching and tattletaling happening from the ambassador program, the snitches and the tattletales then will call Albemarle County Police Department, and then the police department's going to go to the venue and then pretty much use police authority to keep things from, to throttle things back or to stop the event. So snitches get stitches where I'm from. But I'll leave that alone for now. $100,000 per wedding in Albemarle County, that is backed, my friends, by someone who previously was in a role of development for this municipality. Okay? So I think it's incredibly important. Maybe instead of creating $123,000 for snitches who should get stitches, and for tattletales who didn't learn that in 5th grade you have to stop doing this, instead of doing $123,000 for that, how about $123,000 should be spent for masks for the venues, or cleaning supplies for the venues? Maybe you get creative. Instead of snitches who should get stitches, give the venue a portion of that $123K, and that portion should be allocated to having masks, or to helping 6 foot of social distancing, or to the purchase of cleaning products. It's called being supportive, Board of Supervisors, as opposed to being short-sighted, Board of Supervisors. So on Monday, we'll see another meeting, and we hope that these 6 people who have tremendous power in this county realize that the decision-making they're doing could cripple a municipality from an economic standpoint. And that's not what we want. We don't want to empower snitches who should get stitches. We want to empower safety. We want to empower systems. We want to empower protocols and support for the venues and the businesses, restaurants in our community. Instead of setting tattletales inside of restaurants to count people and paying these tattletales to do that, how about you go to the restaurants in Albemarle County and say, guys, we understand that your business is suffering mightily. Instead of you paying out of pocket for PPE, mask, whatever it may be, here's a portion of taxpayer dollars, and we're going to give you this so you can have a box of masks, or you can have cleaning supplies that maybe you don't have the budget for to keep your restaurant spick and span, to create consumer confidence. What every municipality is missing in America is consumer confidence. And consumer confidence is manifested and created, it's encouraged, it's spurred along by PPE in a 2020 COVID landscape. The only way we're going to have consumer confidence or grow consumer confidence is if people feel safe going in or eating out or going to a wedding or patronizing businesses. And how you're going to get that consumer confidence is mask. So Board of Supervisors, listen, and listen good. The $123,000 is a short-sighted allocation if you're doing it for tattletales and snitches who should get stitches. Instead, allocate that $123K to PPE for businesses in the community and support them. Barbara Lundgren, the fairy godmother, says this: Albemarle County alone hosts approximately 1,000 weddings per year. That's weddings only, not other special events. That was a 2019 report. I'm going to do this. Judah, go to the studio camera. You'll see a calculator behind me. Let's just do some basic arithmetic. $100,000 per wedding in taxable dollars created for the Albemarle County municipality times Barbara Lundgren. She knows this. She's the fairy godmother. She is the point of contact for weddings. 100,000 times 1,000 weddings in 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the number we have on screen. Weddings in Albemarle County, $100 million. Do you understand? Do you understand? Do you understand? What is the Albemarle County budget in totality, boys and girls? The Albemarle County budget in totality for one fiscal year is $400 million. So you can make a legitimate argument that the wedding industry is helping to drive through trickle-over impact hotels. People eat at restaurants. They turn it into a 3 or 4 day weekend. They go shopping on Downtown Mall. They go shopping on Midtown. They eat at one of my favorite restaurants in Charlottesville in Peloton Station. They go to the University of Virginia to the bookshop to buy gear. They go to Mincer's to buy hats. Maybe they catch a show at the Paramount. Very rare are you going to a wedding, only going to the wedding and not spending money elsewhere. You're getting a hotel, you're drinking, you're having a good time, you're eating and you're shopping. You're watching shows and listening to music. So Board of Supervisors, please, respectfully, snitches get stitches. The $123K could be allocated to PPE instead. Next headline, Judah Wickhauer. I love Peloton Station, Julian Friedman. I really do. You know I do. Next one, Albemarle Town Hall for Schools. So here's a terrifying metric. There was a town hall for Albemarle County schools, parents and teachers to have conversation. What's going on? What's being planned? You want to hear something terrifying? This is something that came up in the town hall. And I'm going to read this verbatim from Charlottesville Tomorrow. Are you ready? This is on Charlottesville Tomorrow's website. Charlottesville and Albemarle County Public Schools could not provide details when asked who will be notified in the school system when a student, teacher, or staff member is tested positive for COVID. Basically, the Thomas Jefferson Health District plans to notify those who have spent more than 15 minutes with someone who has tested positive for COVID or has prolonged contact with the person. So here's pretty much what's happening. Listen to this. This should scare the bejeebus out of you. If a kid, if a son or daughter, if a boy or girl, if a student, if a teacher, if a janitor, if a principal, if someone on the administrative staff tests positive for COVID in a school, the Thomas Jefferson Health District is going to only notify those who have spent 15 minutes or more around this person and nobody else. I'm a parent. My kid is not school age yet. He's 2. But if I was a parent of a young child, or if I was a parent of a middle school student, or if I was a parent who had a significant other that was a teacher or an admin in schools, and someone in those hallways tested positive for COVID-19, I would want to know. Even if my wife, my kid did not encounter this person. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Okay, so Charlottesville and Albemarle County Public Schools are unable to provide details on what they are going to do if someone in the school tests positive for COVID. That's freaking terrifying. That is terrifying. And I think that is very different, and correct me if I'm wrong, that is very different than the path the private schools are going to take, where notification is done in mass distribution if something like this happens at a private school. This topic came up yesterday in an Albemarle County town hall meeting on Zoom, and it left all of us flabbergasted, perplexed, flummoxed, and downright confused. You're not going to notify everybody in the school if somebody is walking around the school with COVID? What the HE double hockey sticks is that? Nuts. 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 Next headline comes from Nelson County. The first school system, boys and girls, in Central Virginia, Nelson County, has determined that they are going to do a virtual-only, thank you, Judah, for having that on screen, a virtual-only learning environment, at least for a little while. This is the first school system to make an official announcement. The Nelson County school system announced plans for the upcoming school year. The school board voted to take a leveled approach. Level 1 will last from August 24th to October 2nd. So, folks, I'm going to cut to the chase. In Nelson County, from August 24th to October 2nd, students are going to learn virtually unless very special occasion or special circumstances like special education students who need to learn in person. So from August 24th to October 2nd, Nelson County is virtual. Here's another thing. Nelson County is postponing or halting all sports and extracurricular activities until at least August 13th. Look, I'm going to cut to the chase. Let's take a sport that's in the fall. If you don't have training camp after spending a long summer, if you're a student athlete, of not training, that's going to impact your performance in the fall and could potentially cause health or injury. You cannot just show up and play sports. You need to train for them. But let's put sports to the side. Nelson County, the first school system to say it's going virtual, and they're saying we're at least going to be doing this until October 2nd, and all sports and extracurricular activities are now put on stop in Nelson County. Guys, this is going to influence Albemarle. This is going to influence the city of Charlottesville. This will influence Fluvanna. This will influence Louisa, Orange County, Greene, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You heard it here. And another thing I very much need you to consider, and a very much something that's going under the radar. Public school teachers are often the coaches for the public school sports teams. You may be teaching math and coaching basketball. You may be teaching physical education and coaching soccer. You may be teaching history and you're the track coach. You may be teaching whatever and coaching this. It's facts. Many of the teachers in our public school systems supplement their yearly pay by coaching sports. Teachers are underpaid and undervalued, and it's a freaking travesty. Teachers should be paid and paid well. So the underpaid and undervalued teachers are supplementing their compensation packages by coaching sports. Imagine if we do not have sports, how many teachers who are already underpaid and undervalued, imagine how many teachers will see their take-home pay sacrificed, diminished, depressed, and cut because they cannot coach these sports or do extracurricular activity moderating. It's serious. And it's a topic that's not being discussed. In a lot of circumstances, teachers have reached out to me. They are earning north of 10 to 15% of their pay coaching sports outside of the classroom. So if you sacrifice 10 to 15% of your pay because you cannot coach kids, that is going to hurt your bottom line. And let's take it a step further. If you're a talented 22-year-old, or if you're a talented 23-year-old, and you're matriculating and graduating from a fantastic university, a so-so university, just a university in general, why would you go down a career path in education where you're already undervalued and underpaid, and now you lose an opportunity of getting supplemental income by coaching sports or moderating extracurriculars, and that opportunity is snatched from your grasp? You don't think that's going to impact engagement for kids coming out of college, getting into education? Furthermore, let's take it a step further. We know the 2021 Albemarle County budget is in the pooper. We know the 2021 Charlottesville City budget is in the pooper. So we know the municipalities don't have the money to allocate to the school systems. We see colleges furloughing professors. We see colleges cutting compensation packages, and we see colleges turning their back on tenured professors. So if you're coming out of college now, and you know that COVID is impacting the in-person environment for schools, teachers get into education to interact with students. One of the most rewarding things for teachers is to work with kids hand in hand and mold them and see them have success. That's why teachers get into it, to work alongside kids. So one of the undoubted value propositions of being an educator and a school teacher is to work alongside children. Well, guys, gone. Not working alongside kids. You now have to do it. Hey, Johnny. How you doing over there, Johnny? You doing your history, Johnny? No, Johnny. Don't turn that TV on behind you, Johnny. It's time to learn. Johnny, put down that phone. You're supposed to be learning right now. Johnny, look at me through this camera on this MacBook Air, Johnny. Johnny, I'm going to have to put you in timeout, Johnny. If you're not paying attention, go sit in the corner, Johnny. Oh, you're not going to listen to me because you're in your living room and I'm in my living room and you don't think I'm real? Okay, Johnny, you win. So you lose the in-person interaction with the kid. That's why teachers get into it. You see that the school systems are struggling from a money standpoint, so you got to be worried about your raises. You barely got any to begin with. And now you're going to have an opportunity to supplement your income by moderating extracurriculars or coaching sports being snatched from your grasp? You don't think that's going to impact engagement with people trying to get into education coming out of college? Oh, yes, it will. Oh, yes, it will. Just ask don't you agree, Johnny? Yes, Jerry. Nuts. Crazy world we live in. Next headline, Judah. Liberty University. This is shocking. If you're in Lynchburg right now, you should be terrified. So many people in Charlottesville are terrified that students are returning. Well, you know what? At least the University of Virginia is making kids wear masks. Liberty University will not require COVID-19 tests for students returning to this fall. Liberty University will not require students to wear masks at their school. I hope the students do it just because it's the right thing to do. Will they when their school says you don't have to? Liberty says you don't need to take a COVID-19 test to come back to school in the fall? What the HE double hockey sticks is that? What? You disagree, Judah? Are you raising your hand there?
I thought we'd kind of talked about the fact that tests are fairly useless.
Perception. You're managing perception and you're creating consumer confidence by saying at least take a damn test and give us the results. By saying you don't have to take a test or wear a mask, what does that do for managing perception and creating consumer confidence, my friend? I'm talking to you.
Okay. It beats me. I just think that, really? You want people to take a test a few weeks before they go back to school? And what's that going to prove?
It proves at least to the point they took a test, they didn't have COVID. I understand that it takes 10 days to get the results, and Johnny and Sarah are going to be partying and taking keg stands and passing the keg nozzle back and forth like I did and like you did. And I understand that's how you can get COVID, and I understand 18, 19, 20, and 21-year-olds don't see past what's in front of their face. I certainly don't. I certainly didn't. But it's consumer confidence. And not wearing masks? Ay, caramba, chico. That's not good. For those that are saying the University of Virginia should keep the students off of grounds in Charlottesville, will respectfully disagree with each other. When you start keeping students from being in person at universities across America, you genuinely risk the survival of the business model, and the entire concept of college and university could crumble and collapse. If the concept of University of Virginia crumbles and collapses in Charlottesville, CVille becomes Hendersonville, North Carolina. You understand what I'm saying? And not Charlottesville, Virginia. But Liberty University saying no tests, forget about the tests, forget about the mask. What? Lynchburg, Virginia, get ready for what's coming down your pipeline. Get ready, Lynchburg, Virginia, for what's coming down your pipeline. Oh, how about a macro story, Judah Wickhauer? Let's go to mortgage rates being at 30-year lows. Guys, the Fed is doing whatever it humanly can to keep an economic collapse from happening. This includes payments to people that are out of work through July. That's about to expire. That includes PPP loans to small businesses. That includes mortgage rates now below 3%. This is the cheapest money you will probably see in your lifetime as a potential home buyer. If you have the opportunity to buy a home, do it now, do it now, do it now, do it now. You will never see cheaper money in your life. Less than 3%. Okay? The Fed is trying to do what it can to stabilize an economy. Less than 3%. So many people in the city of Charlottesville, and listen up. Are you listening to me? Okay? Please listen to me. As someone who has done the home buying process 3 times and owns 10,000 square feet of commercial real estate. The first home I purchased, 6 1/8% interest rate. Might have been 6 1/4. I was in 2008. Terrible time to buy. I still own it, investment property. Second home I purchased in Redfields. I think that was 5%. Home that I just purchased on the eastern side of Albemarle County. 4.5, I believe. This is under 3. What's your interest rate, Judah, on your home? Do you know? You should know that.
Yeah. I believe it's about, I think it's 3.6, 3.7.
Okay, so you got a good rate there. Judah, it's at 2.87 now. 2.87. Every point you're saving significant on a monthly nut. So I'm gonna offer a message to anyone that's listening. Okay? This is a message of sound advice and a message of how you can begin creating generational wealth for yourself. If you live in Charlottesville or Albemarle County and you're renting a home, please listen. If you live in Charlottesville City or Albemarle County and you're currently renting, here's a plan I'm going to offer you that's going to give you a chance to create generational wealth. Anyone can do this plan. If you're renting in Charlottesville or Albemarle, you're probably paying in the neighborhood for a home that has, say, 3 bedrooms, maybe even 2 bedrooms. You're probably paying in the neighborhood of a monthly rent of $1,400 to $1,800. If you're renting in Albemarle and if you're renting in the city and you pay a monthly rent combined for this home of $1,400 to $1,800, I'm about to give you a strategy that you're going to look back on and say, this is when I started building generational wealth. Instead of paying somebody else's mortgage, your landlord, consider purchasing a home. You're going to say, Jerry, I don't have the cash to put 20% down. Jerry, they're not going to consider me for a home. That's wrong. There are neighborhoods, and I learned this from Keith Smith, the distinguished gentleman, the star of Real Talk. It airs Tuesdays and Fridays at 10:15 on the I Love CVille network, powered by the fabulous, the Yes Team Realtors. There's a neighborhood in Fluvanna, which is roughly 18 minutes from UVA in the city of Charlottesville, called Lake Monticello. And Lake Monticello has single-family detached homes with backyards and front yards. It's a gated community. It has amenities. This particular neighborhood qualifies for a USDA loan. You can put $0 down in this particular neighborhood. Zero. You then can own a home, and your monthly mortgage payment will be roughly $1,400 to $1,500 depending on your closing price. Call it $1,400 to $1,600. So what's the advice I'm offering? Instead of paying $1,400 to $1,600 in the city or Albemarle County for a home that you don't own, paying somebody else's mortgage, call Keith and Jonas Smith of the S-Team Realtors and let them show you how you can buy a home in Lake Monticello for zero money down. You can get a house that you own with a backyard and a front yard, pretty much the same footprint of the house you're renting now, and you own it. Every month you make that rent payment, it will be a mortgage payment instead, and you're creating a savings account that you can leverage or eventually pay off, and then you own a piece of structure free and clear. This is how you build wealth. The first step is home ownership. Please, you have an opportunity with interest rates below 3% that will never, ever, ever happen in your lifetime again. Ever. Do it. Next headline, Judah Wickhauer, is a macro headline. And Judah Wickhauer, I am terrified for the future of big cities. I subscribe to Barron's financial publication. I subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. I subscribe to the Daily Progress, the Washington Post, Inc. magazine, the Chartist, which is a financial publication, CNBC Pro, and probably consume 14 to 15 hours of financial news a day. One of the trends that's happening in big cities, and I see it with a family member, big cities across America, their future is in peril. Their citizens, the people that live in the New York cities of the world, are working from a virtual setting, and they're realizing that they have the freedom to work pretty much everywhere they want or anywhere they want. Now they're asking themselves, after 5 months of doing this, why, dear Lord, do I work in New York City where rent for a tiny apartment is $2,000 a month, and I have to share it with some other schmuck, and this other schmuck, we had to put up a fake wall that doesn't even go to the ceiling to offer privacy, and anytime this other dude decides to get a little freaky-deaky with his lady, I'm hearing it over here. So I'm paying $2,000 a month to live in the city of New York, and the only way I could afford this $2,000 a month is because I got a guy who I don't even know. We put up a fake wall in our living room to create a quasi-bedroom. This fake wall doesn't even go to the ceiling, but at least it takes the apartment from $4K a month to $2K a month because I can split it with this stranger. But the ramifications of doing this are, anytime this dude comes home and he likes to get a little freaky, I'm hearing it in my bedroom over here. The ramifications are it's only one bathroom. The ramifications are the place is really tiny. And frankly, I don't choose to spend any time in this New York City apartment because who wants to hear a stranger get freaky-deaky next door? So folks in cities, and it's not just New York, it's DC, it's Philly, it's Boston, they're saying to hell with this high cost of living, to hell with this public transportation that's brutal in the concrete jungle, to go in the hole and ride a subway when it doesn't have air conditioning in your business attire, and you're sweating profusely by the time you get outside the hole and then have to walk in the concrete jungle to your place of employment. To hell with this. Why don't I live in the burbs or a lower cost of living environment and still maintain my big city pay? The future of big cities are very much in question. But the potential demise of the big city could be the coup of Charlottesville as people come here. Watch it. I've covered it well. It's happening at a greater degree now. COVID is magnifying and creating momentum behind everything. Everything. Certainly this. Get your comments in. I'll relay comments here in a matter of moments. Neil Williamson, I'll get to your comments, sir. Put them in the stream. Put them in the comments section, and I'll relay them on air. Happy to do it. You can dictate the pace and tempo, and we'll be able to relay your perspective on air. The next one I want to get to, Judah, before we get to our comments, is sports related. I'm going to give you 3 headlines from a sports standpoint. Sports impact Charlottesville like weddings do. Weddings is one of the most, weddings is and venues are one of the most critically important sectors for positivity from an economic standpoint in Central Virginia. Is it number 1? I think it's number 1. Okay? Sports and UVA athletics is got to be flirting with that, but I think weddings have got to be number 1. So we've covered weddings, and we'll get back to it in a second, and the economic impact they have on our community. Sports also has tremendous economic impact in the community. If we do not have fall football in Charlottesville, you will see the University of Virginia corner collapse. Point in case. If we don't have football this fall, and I'm just talking about, even if football is played in an empty stadium, that's better than no football. If we don't have football this fall, you'll see the UVA corner collapse. And then you're going to start seeing new tenants on the UVA corner, and those new tenants are going to start looking more and more like Sheets, and less like Trinity, and less like Boylan, the Bistro, the Virginian, the Biltmore, and Coops. Because the Sheets of the world have the burn rate and the cash reserves to weather a recession, as opposed to the mom and pops that are our friends that do not. I don't want to go to a UVA corner. I don't want to go to a Midtown and see Padows. Sheets. Pooey. I want Krusties from the Biltmore. I want fried mac and cheese from the Virginian. I want a burger from Boylan. I want a Big Mike from Peloton. Made to order, pooey. I'm going to spit. Sheets, but that's what's going to happen. So here's the proposal that's happening. The ACC is not turning its back on out-of-conference games. Put the Pac-12 headline on. The Pac-12 has said, sources say, it's only going to go conference games only. That means they play the teams in their conference. From an ACC standpoint, it would be only playing the North Carolinas, the Clemsons, the Virginia Techs of the world, as opposed to UVA, who has a primetime matchup with Georgia on its schedule in Hotlanta. So the ACC realizes the tremendous financial value of these out-of-conference games. The ACC is considering bringing Notre Dame into the mix and allowing the Fighting Irish to play for a conference championship. The ACC is doing whatever it humanly can to preserve its out-of-conference schedule, which includes a number of ACC and SEC matchups. So this conference that very much influences Charlottesville, Virginia, is doing its best to preserve an in-conference and out-of-conference schedule, and it may add Notre Dame into the mix to play for a conference championship. Now you're going to say, Jerry, we're in a pandemic, and we are in a pandemic. I'm not marginalizing it. I'm going to get some coffee here. You're going to say, Jerry, we're in a pandemic. Stop talking about football. Jerry. We're in a pandemic, and you're focused on 300-pound men tackling each other so a leather football gets moved from the 40-yard line to the 50-yard line. Jerry. Folks, let's look at this from a Wisconsin standpoint. Put the headline on screen. excuse me, Wisconsin University, thank you, Gina. Look at the screen. Barry Alvarez is the athletic director at Wisconsin University. Yesterday, he had this warning for people if the Badgers cancel football season. If Wisconsin does not play a football schedule this fall, Barry Alvarez says Wisconsin will lose more than $100 million. Furthermore, Wisconsin has a projected operating budget for 2020 and 2021 of $140 million. So what does that tell you? If you don't play football at Wisconsin, and Wisconsin's a big-time school. Wisconsin's a primo football team, plays for championships, a big-time football school. People love football in Madison. Wisconsin's athletic department has an operating budget of $140 million. 100 of that $140 million comes from football. Again, 100 of that $140 million for the Wisconsin athletic department comes from 300-pound men crushing helmets to get a football from one side of the field to the other when fans like me and fans like you cheering. $100 million. I'm going to take it a step further. Wisconsin said, and this is public information, Wisconsin said they have a reserve fund of only $190 million. Oh my God, I have to take my jacket off for this. Please go to the studio camera. Let's just be intelligent people here, okay? Please, let's just be intelligent people. We have one of the premium football teams. Curtis, I didn't throw it on the floor because last time Judah's dog, Liza, got hair and dust all over my jacket, and now it's at the dry cleaners. I still love you, Liza. Liza showed her head over there. I love Liza. She's the I Love CVille mascot. Wisconsin is telling us. The athletic director is being transparent. I wish the Board of Supervisors were transparent. And Malik. Barry Alvarez is saying this. We have $190 million in our reserve account. $190 million. If we don't have football this year, we're going to lose $100 million on a budget that needs $140 to survive. If you take $100 million away because you don't have football, you take $100 out of the reserve account, that leaves the reserve account with $90. And then you start seeing an athletic department that legitimately could crumble. And this doesn't impact just football. This impacts softball. This impacts field hockey, cross country, track and field. And let's not even consider what it does for the Madison economy, from hotels and restaurants and bars and music venues and retail and shopping and Airbnb and Uber. When people hit Wisconsin for a football game, they spend ducats. You know what I do for a football game? When it's game day, my wife can attest to this, I immediately wake up on game day. First thing I do when I spring out of bed, I say, Judah, studio camera. I say, it's game day. It's game day. It's game day. And I walk around the house like this. I'm clapping my hands. I'm pumped for game day. I make myself a Bloody Mary. I put College Game Day on the tube. I probably go to the ABC store. My wife's driving because I had a Bloody Mary. I'm sitting shotgun. I'm not driving. We go to the ABC store. We pick up 6 airplane bottles of brown juice. We go to Wayside Fried Chicken or Peloton Station and we get some food for the tailgate. We then go to the UVA corner where we probably have a beverage at the Virginian or the Biltmore or Boylan or whatever. And with that beverage, we need some absorbers in our belly because I have 6 airplane bottles. We eat some absorbers. Then we go to our tailgating spot. We open up the table. We have the spread of Wayside. We have Minutemen and 40 Mile and Ghosts from Dave Warwick and Three Notch. We invite our homies over. We have our kids there. We have our folding chairs there. 8 or 10 of us will eat some fried chicken, drink some booze, drink some beer, revel, galvanize, and find some connection in a sport we love. And then we walk to the stadium where hopefully we see a victory. That's what 60,000 people do. And then when you're not even at the stadium, you're probably doing it at a bar, at a home in some capacity. So the magnitude and the impact of not having football in Wisconsin is $100 million. They have a working budget of $140 million and only $190 in reserves. So for anyone, and it's not a zero-sum game, I can care about human and health and safety, and I can care about getting through a pandemic, and I can care about capacities at hospitals, and I can care about mankind and humanity and health and us doing what's right in COVID. I can have tremendous care and passion for that, and I can also have tremendous care and passion for the local economy. It is not a zero-sum game, Nakia Walker. You can care about the local economy and also care about COVID and hospitalizations and cases. You can care about both. And anyone who says you cannot care about both has an agenda, and that's in a narrative, and that's it. And that's going to piss some people off, and I don't care. I don't care. I care about getting out of this. I wear the mask. I social distance, but I still support the economy and local businesses. It is not a zero-sum game, and don't let anyone tell you it's a zero-sum game. That's a narrative that they're trying to push down your throat. It's not true. Put your comments in now. I'm going to go to your comments here. I'm worried. I'm worried that the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, who has 8, 10, 12% shortfall for 2021, we don't know yet. There's a budget shortfall for fiscal year 2021. They have a working budget of $400 million. They don't have that. I'm worried that 6 people are allocating taxpayer dollars to tattletales and snitches who should get stitches, as opposed to creating a support system through allocating the money for PPE and masks for businesses that don't have the money now to buy masks and have them on the door for people to walk in. So instead of saying to people who walk in that may not have a mask, you can't come here, we should be able to give them a mask, and the county should be able to finance that if they have $123K for tattletales. I worry that in a time where citizens are asking in a defund the police movement, I'm worried that 6 people in the county are actually giving the police more responsibility. You ain't listening. I worry for a corner, the UVA corner, who, if it does not have fall sports this fall, there will be a monumental collapse of commerce on the UVA corner. And when we have a monumental collapse of commerce on the UVA corner, you will see the brands that we love. I've been going to Coupe de Ville's since my first year at UVA, when I made fake IDs in Dabney 101 by getting a laminator and some hologram paint and some photograph paper with my buddies, and they're watching the show, and creating fake jersey IDs and going into Coupe de Ville's and having pictures of $5 natural light and the occasional $1 burger on Mondays. Did it all the time. Did it all the time. Nothing I love better than going there now. I don't want to see made to order. I want to see Krusties and burgers and Big Mike's, not made to order subs. I want to see wild turkeys and ranch hands and Chris Long subs and Ralph Sampson subs, not deep dish pizzas from Pizza Hut. I'm worried that so many folks see this as with blinders on. And the blinders they have on is only this like get from A to B, instead of realizing that getting from A to B may not be a straight line. You may have to zig, then zag, then zig, then zag again, and you still get to B. But if you zig and zag and zig and zag and get to B, but you do it by preserving a local economy, then what you have left when we do get to B is at least jobs to return to. If you just go A to B and think hospitalization in cases and Malik, you will shutter businesses. You will cost jobs and they will not return. And that is on your hands. On your hands. It's crazy. It's crazy. We live in a crazy time right now. Let's go to feedback. Scott, how do I say your name, Scott? Is it Clothier? Scott Clothier doesn't agree with what I'm saying. It's fine. I'll read some of Scott's comments here on the stream. Let me load this page up. Matt Yancey says, and they want us to go back to phase 2. It's freaking lunacy. Matt Yancey is right. They want us to go back to phase 2. It's lunacy. Barbara Lundgren, UVA, weddings and restaurants are our only industry here. We need to remember that the county has not allowed other large industries to enter. Good point. UVA, weddings and restaurants. Real estate is also an important industry in the county. We're seeing the tech sector spring up, but the tech sector is predominantly staying in the city of Charlottesville because of the proximity to the downtown mall. Ask yourself this question. Ask yourself this question. If you live in Albemarle County, if you work in Albemarle County, if your kids go to school in Albemarle County, what is creating the revenue for a $400 million budget? Weddings, restaurants, UVA sports, real estate. What else is doing it? Seriously, I got to quite. I'm seriously. Weddings, sports, UVA, real estate and restaurants in Albemarle County. They're carrying the county. And 6 people on the Board of Supervisors are about to limit the capacity of restaurants. 6 people at the Board of Supervisors may handcuff weddings. 6 people at the Board of Supervisors may influence UVA for what they're going to do this fall. And 6 people at the Board of Supervisors will raise your real estate taxes to make up the deficit of what we're dealing with right now. Ay, caramba, chico. ¿Qué pasa aquí con 6 people? What are they doing? Scott's like dropping tons of comments here, Scott. I'll get to these, Scott, I promise. Cindy Schornberg says, okay, my daughter is going off to Liberty in 3 weeks, and this is news to me. We were told face masks were required. Check out the news. Look at the COVID-19 test, Cindy. It's nuts. Scott says, all right, Scott, you got a lot of comments. I'm not from prison. I think he's talking, my snitches get stitches. Not everyone goes into education for money. I'd wager to say 90% don't go into education for the money. My take was that, Scott. My take literally was people go into education to interact face-to-face with children. That was my take. We are taking away, we are removing the face-to-face piece with teachers and kids. We're making the face-to-face happen through computer screens as opposed to in person. The reason teachers get into education, of course it's not the money. They're not making any. They're underpaid and undervalued. The reason they go into education is the face-to-face interaction with the children. The value proposition of molding young minds. Michelle Pfeiffer, Dangerous Mind style. Someone cool, Coolio. Someone cue Coolio and Gangster's Paradise right now. Judah, can you bebop Gangster's Paradise and Coolio, Dangerous Minds? Can you do that? Give me a bebop, Judah Wickhauer. Is that asking too much of you? Judah camera.
Not going to happen.
What? Gangster's Paradise, Coolio. Come on, Judah. You can't do that?
I'll give you my 2 cents, but I'm not going to beatbox.
Teachers are losing the reason they go into schools, interacting with children. More comments coming in. Oh, what are your 2 cents, Judah? I am heated today. Let's go to the Judah camera, and I want to hear your 2 cents.
All right. In regards to Liberty University, 2 thumbs up. I say go for it.
You're nuts.
College students have the strongest constitutions of anyone in the country.
What do you mean by constitutions?
I mean, you've got kids like downing barrels of beer, and you're afraid they're a little COVID-19 is going to hurt them?
Okay, can you go back to me?
Sure.
Okay, and I'll go back to you. I don't mean to interrupt you. And I love that Judah's my Robin. Judah's my Baba Booey. Who do you want to be, Judah? You want to be Robin?
I'll have to give it some thought.
Okay, Judah's my Robin, my Baba Booey. Here's the concern. The concern is not the UVA students getting COVID and it impacting them. The concern is the UVA students getting COVID and then spreading it to our more vulnerable population that could really have some serious issues if they do get it. That's the concern, J-Dubs.
Well, then why doesn't the more vulnerable population stay away from them?
You're saying why doesn't the more vulnerable population stay away from the UVA students?
Or from any students or anyone. You're talking about trying to protect the vulnerable population by keeping everyone from doing anything fun or enjoyable or part of everyday life. So you're saying that if 2% of the population is at a major risk, then all of us should quarantine ourselves. Sorry. And so we're going to destroy our restaurants. We're going back to phase 2 maybe. And why? Because
spike in cases.
For some reason, but it's still fine to go to Lowe's. It's still fine to go to the grocery store.
Well played.
You're honestly telling me that you people think that it's okay.
And by you people, you mean government.
I mean everyone.
Whoa.
How many of you out there are actually saying, no, we shouldn't be going to restaurants, but it's fine if I go to Kroger and Lowe's?
How about I take it a step further? You ready for this?
Okay.
I'm going to throw it back to you. You ready for this? This is gonna create some friction. You ready for this one?
I'm ready.
You can't go to restaurants. You can't go to venues. You can't go to public parks, Ann Malik. You can't go to soccer fields, Ann Malik. But you can go to Lowe's, you can go to the grocery store, and you can protest for 5 to 6 weekends shoulder to shoulder. That's okay, right? That's okay, right?
Amen. So, I think...
You know what that's called? You know what that's called, right? That's called hypocrisy, right? Is it that hypocrisy, or is that a catch-22? What is a better description of that?
I don't think most of the people are smart enough for hypocrisy to even come into the picture.
Anything else you want to add?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Seriously, if you're that scared of COVID-19, just shut everything down. If you honestly think that we can survive this, then just shut everything down, quarantine everyone. Because, like I said, grocery stores are open. We've got...
the most dangerous place in Charlottesville is the Lowe's on 29.
I don't think that's true.
How do you not think that's true? Have you been there? I have been there. It's terrifying.
You've sent me there.
Sorry.
Yeah. I don't, what? I mean, in the case of Lowe's, there is quite a bit of room to move around.
But there's a hell of a lot of people not wearing masks.
I mean, I'm sorry, but if you look at the boxes, most of those masks say that it's not going to do a damn thing for you.
Oh, man.
Just saying. And Jerry likes to say snitches get stitches. Here's what I have to say on the subject.
Please.
This is another imperfect metaphor, but let me read something for you.
Ooh.
This is historical. Just a short sentence. It goes, "It was an anonymous phone call in the hot summer of 1944, which led the Gestapo and Dutch security police to the concealed annex in a canal-side house where Anne Frank and her family had hidden for almost 2 years." That's what I think of your snitching.
Okay, walk me through that. I think you're making a really good point here. You gotta unpack that point, though.
Okay, it's pretty simple. Anne Frank was murdered.
I know who. Okay.
Anne Frank was murdered, along with millions and millions of Jews, gypsies, gays, and whoever else was considered unclean or whatever.
By the Nazis.
Right. And in this case, Anne Frank had been hidden, along with her family, and somebody snitched. Somebody knew that they were there and told on them, and they were all killed.
Yeah, and you know what? Take it a step further with your metaphor. That anonymous phone call, that anonymous tip that led to Anne Frank. I bet you that anonymous tip did not come from a compensated, packaged, financially backed, paid snitch. And that's pretty much what the county's doing, right? Not only are they creating a snitches get stitches, tattletale type of environment, but Judah, they are empowering them with compensation. I mean, that takes it to a completely different level. Comments coming in left and right. Oh my, oh my. Let's go to Daniel Kaufman. Daniel Kaufman of Public. Love Public, love Public, love Public. Love Daniel Kaufman. One of the best happy hours in town is Daniel Kaufman's at Public. He says, Jerry, I'd like to add, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels how frustrating it is to bust our asses to comply with regulations and safety procedures and see other places ignoring these policies, thus potentially risking our ability to continue operating. So this is a good point that he's making. Here's the point he's making. He's saying Public, and it's one of my favorite restaurants, he knows this. He's saying Public is doing whatever it humanly can to be safe and create an environment of safety for people who patronize Public. And I've seen it. He's going above and beyond the call of duty. Okay, one second, Judah. He's going above and beyond the call of duty. He's basically saying it is not fair to his efforts, both sweat equity and financially. It is not fair to his team's efforts that other businesses in the restaurant category are not duplicating the efforts of the ones leading the charge. And as a result of the other businesses not duplicating the efforts that the Publix and the Keswick Vineyards of the world are doing, they're market leaders, they're doing things safely in the right way. Because other establishments aren't doing it, he's saying that is creating a COVID spike locally. That is a legitimate point right there. Unfortunately, not all of us will respond from a PPE standpoint or from a due diligence standpoint with keeping things safe for patrons of their respective businesses. And unfortunately, that's Americans. Americans are naturally a self-centered species. Judah, your hand was up.
Yeah. For the most part, I 100% agree with Daniel. I think restaurants, nobody is going to do a better job policing restaurants than they will themselves, because we're talking about their survival here. They want to survive.
They have to survive.
They have to survive.
Yeah. Right, or they're closed.
Exactly. And so, yeah, I agree. Nobody is going to do a better job policing the restaurants than they will themselves, because this is it's everything to them. And in terms of the spike, I don't know about that. I don't see it.
Well, okay, we'll leave that to a side. More comments coming in. This is from Shannon Cruz Ranson, watching the show in Waynesboro, or maybe from her swimming pool. This is a fabulous swimming pool. Shannon Cruz Ranson. Kroger Lowe's are more necessary than restaurants and event venues. Those can be optional. And yes, Lowe's is a nightmare. Shannon is the fabulous barkeep at Fry Spring Station. Shannon, I'm sure you've thought about this. Okay, I'm sure you've thought about this. Okay, Fry Springs Station, Ivy Provisions, and Shadwell's on Pantops. 3 different restaurants: Fry Spring Station in JPA, Ivy Provisions on Ivy Road, and Shadwell's on Pantops. 3 restaurants owned by the same ownership group. Not opened. 3 restaurants. Okay? Fry Spring Station, I lived on that side of town up until March of this year. Fry Spring Station is freaking awesome. Fry Spring Station is freaking awesome. Fry Spring Station, much of its year, last year, Fry Spring Station was an official meeting point or viewing point. It had an outdoor beer garden for UVA football. It was an official spot for UVA football, Fry Spring Station. It realized the value of University of Virginia football because tens of thousands of people were walking by Fry Spring Station on the way to Scott Stadium that PK, Tommy, and Ben took money out of their pocket to create an outdoor beer garden and an official viewing spot for UVA football. That's how important UVA in football is to Fry Spring Station. Fry Spring Station has not opened. Will it open if there's no UVA football? Seriously. It's a pizza place that undoubtedly could do takeout and to-go pizza. Domino's, and Domino's is inferior compared to Fry Spring Station. Domino's, and I actively and aggressively trade stocks. Judah does too. Domino's Pizza is spiking. Domino's Pizza, its stock price is through the roof. You want to know why Domino's Pizza's stock price is through the roof? Because it has delivery and takeout options. If you're in the pizza model and you're in a restaurant space, you have a clear opportunity to fill a need here with takeout, to-go, and delivery. But maybe the decision isn't being made because of the trepidation of not having sports this fall. Shannon has a comment about that. Shannon, I'm open to your thoughts. She's a fabulous barkeep there. To speak to Fry's, Shadwell's, and IVP, we're on track to reopen when students come back. Patio just got major renovations and upgrades. All right, what happens if the students don't come back, Shannon? Shannon, what happens if we have no football this fall, Shannon? These are fair questions. I freaking love that place. You know I love that place. A beer with a bourbon back. You know I love that place. My wife loves that place. More comments coming in. Patty Zeller, the star of What's Barking Local, Wednesdays at 3 o'clock on the I Love CVille network. Patty Zeller's bringing her business, Animal Connection, from the McIntyre Plaza to Ix Park this summer. She's a phenomenal businesswoman. She says the Board of Supervisors should not restrict local businesses who employ 20 people or less. They can monitor their employees and customers just fine. It's the big box stores who aren't doing their due diligence. Go to the studio camera, please. Studio camera, please. This is for Patty Zeller. I'm going to relay it again. Patty Zeller. The Board of Supervisors of Albemarle County should not restrict local businesses who employ 20 people or less. They can monitor their employees and customers just fine. It's the big box stores who are not doing their due diligence. Patty Zeller, I effing love you.
So do I, Patty.
I love you, Patty Zeller. Carol Thorpe, Jerry. This is from Carol Thorpe. Ann Malik and the Board of Supervisors, transparent? That's laughable. All their talk about transparency in government is a lie. The longer they can keep their constituents in the dark, the better they like it. The Board of Supervisors, just like their counterpart, the Charlottesville City Council, is further emboldened by the stranglehold and enjoys of one-party Democratic rule. There are no checks and balances, no diversity of opinion or agenda to keep the political train from steamrolling us all. If we don't wake up, get smart, and elect effective change, we need to alter the current dynamic. We'll continue to suffer from these oppressive bodies that we otherwise so richly deserve. Studio camera, and Judah, you stand up for this one too. Are you ready for this? Carol Thorpe, Judah. I mean, she said it so well, right?
Yes.
I mean,
very well.
We don't just need a Democratic Party and a Republican Party. We need a Democratic Party, a Republican Party, and a Libertarian Party. Amen. And if you have 3 legitimate parties, and God, my DMs are blowing up right now. This show's in fuego. If we had 3 legitimate parties in the county, we would not have a Democratic stranglehold that literally empowers 5 people on city council and 6 people on the Board of Supervisors to do whatever the hell they want. Pisses me off, frankly. I mean, I can just cut to the chase. I mean, it irritates the bejeebus out of me. And it seems to be irritating the bejeebus out of you.
Oh, you know it is.
Well, I was talking about the viewers. I know it irritates the bejeebus out of you. I know it irritates the bejeebus out of you. I mean, guys, put your comments in. Any other perspective you want to offer, I'm fine to relay on screen. Good night. We've gone 75 minutes. This is what's going to happen. You have no football this fall, the corner collapses. Write it down. You have no football this fall, many restaurants and small businesses will close permanently. Write it down. If on Monday or August 5th, the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors chooses to do anything from taking restaurants from where they're currently at and throttling them back down like a governor on a golf cart. We've all been on a golf cart, and we've all played some golf and had a couple beverages, and we've all wanted to get in this golf cart and see how fast the damn golf cart could go. And the throttle, the governor on that golf cart, keeps the golf cart from going as fast as we want it. And that's probably a good case in my situation. My wife is shaking her head somewhere. That's a good case in my situation. If the Board of Supervisors choose to throttle the restaurants in the county, restaurants in the county, some will not survive this. If the Board of Supervisors uses its massive influence in this area to then influence the city of Charlottesville to do the same, there will be a collapse. It's not a zero-sum game. Instead of allocating $123K to ambassadors, allocate the $123K to the businesses in Albemarle that interface with people and interface with the marketplace and have customers coming through the door, and say, I'm going to chop up this money evenly amongst these businesses who interact with people more than any other, and we'll give you masks and other PPE sanitizing stuff so you can help keep your venue safe, so when people come in and they forgot their mask, you don't have to turn them away, or you don't have to have them come in and risk exposing other people. That is called forward, innovative, creative, entrepreneurial thinking. This is what folks that have to do what so many of us do in running small businesses, this is how we think. The Snitches Get Stitches program is how local government that's bureaucratic, archaic, and has affinity for red tape thinks. Cindy Schoenberg from Keswick Vineyards. I love Keswick Vineyards and Al and Cindy Schoenberg. They are market leaders. Cindy Shorberg says, I totally agree that our small businesses are doing everything possible to keep everyone safe and going way beyond protocol to do this and absorbing that added expense. But then you see big box chains like Walmart, Lowe's not doing the minimum, and our board of supervisors are looking to restrict the small businesses and not the big box chains. What am I missing? Amen, 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 amen. How do we think it's a good idea to handicap, to throttle, to handcuff businesses that are on the verge of potentially not surviving? How is it a good idea to put more impediments or roadblock in their way when they're scraping tooth or nail just to survive? And do you not realize, Board of Supervisors, that if the businesses fail, it compounds matters for your budget deficit? You need these businesses to keep the $400 million budget heading in the right direction to run your municipality. And anyone that's watching this program, if you're in Albemarle County, and these 6 people, if they shutter businesses across Albemarle, and they will do with this short-sighted policy decision-making, if they do that, this is what's going to happen to you. Listen, this is what's going to happen to you. Your kids at your public schools will get an inferior education. Your real estate taxes on your home will go up. So this short-sighted thinking literally will make your house more expensive to live in, and your son and daughter will get an inferior education at their public schools because they don't have enough money. Write it down. Shannon Ranson, fabulous barkeep, Fry Spring Station, says this: Jerry, I don't think no football is the nail in the coffin for Fry Springs necessarily. Our owners have just been cautious to wait out resurgent spikes of COVID so that when we reopen, we have less risk of needing to close down suddenly again. And in the hiatus, we've been able to make improvements to the building and develop better to-go systems to launch. Respect. I hope that's the case, Shannon. You know I love that spot. Respect, and I appreciate your opinion, Shannon. The fabulous bar manager at Fry Spring Station, she's offering that perspective. She does not think no football or a cancellation of the football season will be the nail in the coffin of Fry Springs. I hope to God that's not the case, because the neighborhood loves that spot. It's a family spot. It's got great outdoor seating. She makes banging drinks. The pizza's strong. Good TVs for viewing. Good happy hour. It's got even that little hook game on the string that you throw and you try to hook on the hook. The little circle hook, do you try to hook on the eye hook outside? I hope that's not the case, my friend. I really, really do. More comments coming in. Good night. Laura, Jerry, I'm watching in Richmond. As you know, we hope we have a football season, because even if we can't go to Scott Stadium to watch in person, we will still come to Charlottesville and support the businesses, because you know I love UVA and you know I love CVille. If we have football in the fall, my husband, my friends, and I will come to Charlottesville and tailgate, but we will tailgate on the UVA corner at a bar instead of outside Scott Stadium. You're exactly right. Taking football away will keep us going from Charlottesville for these 6 or 7 Saturdays in the fall. I mean, that's everybody. That's everybody. What a brave new world we live in. All right.
Don't see any bravery.
You don't see any bravery? Well, the bravery I see is the people that are surviving. I don't see any bravery from a local government standpoint. I see short-sighted thinking. I agree with that. But I see bravery with the folks that are surviving. That's brave. We live in a Darwinistic society right now, more so than ever, thanks to COVID-19. Survival of the fittest, baby. Oh, I got work to do. I love you guys. I love you guys. I love connecting with you through this platform. I love you guys. Whether you're watching on 12 Facebook pages, whether you're watching on Instagram over here, on LinkedIn Live here, or Twitter Live over here, thank you. for tuning into the broadcast. This is the I Love CVille show, where we tell you what we think. We don't beat around the bush. We tell you what we think. If you agree, that's fine. If you disagree, that's fine. I don't care. This is what I think. I try to back it by empirical data, by what I'm hearing on the street, and by what folks are telling me and what I'm living firsthand as an owner of an advertising agency with 112 clients. An advertising agency is confessional for business. I hear the good and bad and ugly from 112 different business owners on the regular. I'm a priest for businesses. This is the I Love CVille show. My name is Jerry Miller. Enjoy your weekend.